Recording is started here. Welcome, welcome everyone. Happy Wednesday. Hopefully y'all can see me and Dustin at this point, both rocking the glasses this week. Um, Welcome. A happy Wednesday. Like I said, hope everyone's having a great day today. This is week two of our Unreal Engine Fortnite Edition workshops. Very excited to be into week two already. This is week two of four. So we have this session and then two more after that. As a reminder, everyone that is here today, we are looking at the exact same time next week, Wednesday, and then the following Wednesday as well. Last week was really great. We built on a lot of good stuff. We started with some great stuff. Just getting through the basics and things along those lines. Now, really quickly, I'm actually gonna switch my share screen over to a different monitor, so bear with me. I'm recognizing quite a few names from last week. However, Dustin, I am seeing one or two that I don't recognize. So with that, we're gonna talk really quickly, get through this slide presentation before we actually get into Unreal Engine and actually making the um, or getting into the game design here and getting into the Fortnite map that we started last week. To those of you that are brand new this week, welcome. We're excited to have you here. As I just mentioned last week, we really went through basics. And so if you did miss last week and you happen to watch the recording, fantastic. If you did not, no worries. We're really just starting to scratch the surface here. So you should be able to follow along with us. Please ask us any questions in the Q&A section as well. I will do my best to answer those to the best of my ability to get you to where you need to be. Oh, with that being said, again, welcome. This is the Unreal Engine Fortnite Edition workshop. My name is Robbie Menegdeg. I am the K-12 Esports League Manager. I've been here at K-12 and Stride for about 4 years now, just a little bit over that. I'm a big esports guy. Been an enthusiast since 2010. I play a little bit of everything, including Fortnite, of course. But with my introduction here, I'm going to say a little bit about Dustin as well before he gives his. We are both kind of brand new to Unreal Engine and this game design piece of this world as well. So we're learning along with you guys. So any of your questions that may feel too basic or anything like that are not. Dustin and I, are just learning as well and sharing our knowledge and the basics of all of this with you. But with that, I'm gonna shoot this piece of it over to Dustin to introduce himself, and then we'll keep moving forward.
Yes, and I'm Dustin Owens. I'm the one of the league coordinators for the K-12 Esports League. I've been working for Stride for a little over 5 years now. Started out on the school side as a esports coach, and working with like some of the high school students and everything there. I've always just had a passion for games, and so being able to bring, even UEFN is what we're calling the acronym for this, as well as the esports competitive side of the league and everything is super cool. Happy to get to do that and be able to kind of just be a part of this with you all. It's been an incredible year so far, and I think it's just going to continue to get better each year as we're in these positions and giving some great opportunities like this today. But with that being said, Robbie, what else you got for us for the slide deck, and then we'll kind of dive into everything that we need to go into.
Yes, this is a slide that those of you that joined us last week did see, but we do have a couple of new people here today. So really quickly, I am going to just go over what we're going to see now over the next 3 weeks. The most important thing that we're learning here, everyone, is basically, and I've said it so much, and I just said it right there as well, but the basics of Unreal Engine Fortnite Edition. Game design within Fortnite, creating your own map and figuring out how to do all of the little things in there. We're not going super complex here in this workshop over the next couple of weeks, but we are at least giving you all uh, the framework of being able to make your own map, and then the world is your oyster at that point, as the saying goes. You can continue to learn and hone in on your map design. And as Dustin just mentioned a few moments ago, Unreal Engine Fortnite Edition can also be called UEFN. So if we happen to say UEFN, this is what we're talking about: the actual platform and engine that we are working with to create these maps. Our sessions are going to be very focused on a few key things each week. So last week was how do you start a map, right? How do you save it? Well, how do you move around? How do you place an object is basically what we focused on last week. We'll talk about what we're going to focus on here this week in just a sec, but our overall goal here for each and every single one of you is to get you comfortable enough with the fundamentals, again, basics, right? To go out and start creating. That is what we're really looking to do here for you all. So this week, our April 8th goals. We want you to be comfortable with coming up with a theme for your map and creating that themed map, making sure that elements within the map do make sense, whether it's, you're going with a underwater theme or an ocean theme, a desert theme, what have you, and sticking to that. Or if your theme is a couple of different things matched together, making sure that it all makes sense and flows together. We also want you to be confident with adding up more props or items and manipulating them, right? And getting really comfortable with that. And then finally, we do want to show you all how to test your map. We actually may do that first, but that is going to be up to Dustin here. Dustin, before we move forward, do you want to give us a quick, did I miss anything week one that we went over as a quick recap?
Nah, I think you covered pretty much the general basis of it. I think the only thing we did do as far as like adding the props and everything is we did work with a little bit with the terrain, just kind of
Hmm.
showing the tools like on how to navigate the terrain and be able to adjust everything and everything like that. And just a little quick plug in. After each of these recordings is done, we are actually putting them on our K-12 Esports League YouTube channel. If you didn't get the email from me earlier today, I did send that link over. So we will be posting the recording from this session as well. That way, if you did by chance, this is their first time joining us this week, you can kind of go back and get that recap and everything from last week's session.
Perfect. Thank you, Dustin. Yes, the terrain, making hills, flattening them, making them bigger, making a plateau, things like that. We went over last week as well. Oh, went too far there. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and Dustin is gonna take it away for us again. Um, as he's getting his share screen ready, no question is a question that shouldn't be asked here. Specifically for Unreal Engine Fortnite Edition UEFN, especially for those of you, the few of you that did not make it in last week. We're super excited to have you here today. That is for sure.
Absolutely. Well, and with that being said, we're gonna just kind of get right into it. I wanted to kind of recap. Obviously, we recapped what we did last week specifically, but I wanted to be able to kind of just go over some of those basic tools and everything like that again, just to kind of refresher. And for those obviously who wasn't able to join us last week, I definitely want you all to have some perspective. Looks like a lot when you first get in. If you haven't opened it up yet, this is what it's going to look like when you first get in there. All your projects are up here, and then all of your the different designs and everything like that too. To start a new project, if you want to do that, you would just click new project. Uh, they have blank templates. They have templates that are already available to you that have like different islands and everything. A lot of different features. If you've seen it in Fortnite, it's most likely been uploaded to UEFN for you to be able to get in there and look at everything. Feature examples. We're going to be kind of getting into this a little bit more over the next couple of weeks, but there's some really, really cool things in terms of like learning how to do the animation and everything for different emotes, and just different mannequin movements and stuff like that for what the players actually do in game and everything. So super, super cool features within UEFN to be able to see. But what we're going to talk about starting out, and very, very subtly hinted on it last week, is like overall map theming. So and there's a few different things that you have to think about when it comes to a map theme. So obviously you got to start out with the concept of what kind of map you're actually wanting to create. Um, one of the things that I really wanted to kind of hone in on before we kind of get into what's actually on the screen is one thing that really got me into video games, for instance, was the storytelling of the games. And so it's funny because, like, when you're writing a paper for a class and you don't feel like doing it, there's some really cool elements that you can actually take away from doing that because you could make everything more enjoyable, whether it's something that you're really, really interested in, or maybe you're not so interested in it right away. But with that being said, if your map is gonna be like even Fortnite, even though Fortnite is the way that it is, there is still a storyline tag to it. So the storyline is something that's really, really cool if you follow that. But obviously, Fortnite, as well as like games like Roblox, and some different variation games to where you can have different mini games within the platform. You got to decide if you want to just go more like, hey, do I just want something that players are going to come in and then just enjoy, be challenging, and have fun with that they're going to want to replay it on repeat, or do I want to actually tell a story behind it? Do I want to give some visualizations and effects and emotions throughout the graphic design and everything to where they're going to feel something and be impacted and want to come back and maybe play it again? So obviously didn't have time to create like a full story told game mode here, but we're going to go on the side of, let's say I wanted to make a parkour style map. What I did last week is I chose, this was a pre-made template with like the lava and the volcano. I think it's Caldera Island, if I'm not mistaken. You could definitely find it under the when you go to make that new project and everything like that. So this is a pre-made map. But the elements that I've made inside of the map, and just kind of as a reminder to move around in this, you would just hold that right click, and then it's just your WSAD keys to be able to move around and everything. You can use your scroll wheel. It actually will help you with your camera speed. So if you wanted to go like really fast to be able to zoom in, or if you wanted to slow it down just slightly, you can do that too. And then your camera speed is also up here, just to show you some, like I said, some different tools as we're kind of going through this and everything. But what I did is I took this lava map and I wanted to be like, well, parkour maps are very popular. And I wanted to be able to give something of the effect like the floor is lava. So, like, you obviously don't want to fall down because if you fall down, you're going to have to start all over again. So, what I did is I just took a couple of the spawn points and I made a platform for at least two players to be able to get in here. While multiple, you can always add more spawn points if you want to have more, which is why if you go into like battle royale, there's probably spawn points all over that main island because you can hold up to 100 like in a standard battle royale map. And I also added a little chest with an item in here to try to give the feeling of, okay, there's at least one safety net that I can hang on to while doing this parkour map to try to keep from falling. But you only get one-time use, and it's a grappler gun. Um, but with that being said, I didn't obviously get too far. I wanted to just kind of create this as an example so that way you all could see what you can add. But truly, a parkour map when you go into Fortnite or something like Roblox or anything, oftentimes we'll just have random materials going up into the air. And so that's pretty much what this is all the props that you can imagine within your content browser. And if you're not sure where that is, this content drawer down here, you just click on that and this comes up. You have those folders that you go under Fortnite, and we went under galleries and everything like that. The last time, you just double click on it. You could double click on props. You have all these different folders that have like everything in them. But then if you go down towards the bottom, it's actually going to have a lot of your different cityscapes and what have you. So many different options to be able to pull in from. But if you're not sure where exactly to look for, because there are so many different folders, you can go back up to that Fortnite folder and just go to the original. And there's this little search bar here, and you could type in like platform. And so this is actually where I got the majority of these materials. Is you can really just scroll through here and look to see, okay, like what's going to create like a challenging platform to maybe be able to get up onto, just something that's unique or whatever that I could pull in here. Like I was thinking on one of these, it's like a wall. So like this little, let me zoom in on over here. It's like this little wall slash part of a roof line. Uh, you can actually get up on it and walk on it. It's challenging because it's almost like a little balance beam. Makes it a little bit trickier. You got to, be a little bit more aware of your movements when you're going to the next platform and everything. You also want to make sure that there is a goal that's attainable because, what kind of games would somebody want to play where the platforms aren't even accessible to be able to get on. Like you want to make sure there's not too much distance, but you also want to make sure that there's enough distance to where it's actually challenging to feel like a parkour. Otherwise, it's not going to be as entertaining. It's not, it's going to be a little boring. So you kind of just have to play around with putting the different materials in here. So for instance, like this little triangle piece is like a wall. I might consider, okay, well, this is a good platform. Maybe I want to rotate it a little bit more one way or the other to make it a little bit more challenging. Is that going to be overly challenging to where I'm not going to be able to jump onto that? Possibly. So it needs to be doable. You need to be able to do it as well as everybody else, but it also needs to feel that challenging and hit those challenging points. So when you're thinking of theme or the overall dynamic of your map, you want to make sure that you're hitting elements like, okay, well, if it's challenging for me to be able to get on this platform, but I can still do it, then you're probably in a good position to basically be able to leave that where it is. Um, and so from here, like I said, I just kind of started staggering some different things. We have like a shipping container, we have those hovering platforms, we have a pillar, we have a roof line, another wall. And then we kind of get up to like a flat spot. It's kind of like a little resting point essentially before, I would essentially continue on to the next one. And so like I said, realistically, I could look through here and grab whatever I wanted. Like let's say I want to do this right here. Takes me a minute. I have to go back to like the select tool and everything. I have to get it over here and adjusted. We have to get it over to where we want to position everything. And then, yes, it's a wall currently, and it still will be a wall, but it's going to be on a different plane now. So like now I've created a little bit, of an obstacle because you definitely don't want to jump on that side at least. But, is that going to be challenging enough? No, it looks a little too close. So I'm just going to move all of this over as we mentioned in these tools last week. I'm just on the selector tool, gives you the different variations of accesses, the X and Y access to be able to move that. And I'm going to make it to where it's going to be a little tricky. I can also hit that rotator tool to rotate it around a little bit more, make sure it's good. It looks, relatively far away. I think that a person could get onto this platform. So I'm going to leave it for now and we'll see if that works. But, they don't want to go too far right because then that's not going to be able to grab onto anything. So the really neat thing is here is I'm creating a challenging map or trying to create a challenging map for those who would want to continually play it, try to get better. And whenever I've officially reached the top with creating my map, wanting to make sure that it's achievable and that people feel that they've completed something, that they've accomplished something. So with that being said, I've got my props in place, and what I want to try to do is just test this. And so if you have, which you should have Fortnite installed, if you have UEFN installed, because they actually coincide with each other. And so if I want to be able to test this map out, all I have to do is click launch session. And it's going to ask if I haven't saved anything yet, which obviously you always want to try to save it. If I hadn't saved it yet, though, you can save it. So that way it'll add in that additional wall or that additional platform based off of this map. And what it's going to do is going to take just a minute to be able to load in, but it'll automatically pull Fortnite up for us and get us loaded onto one of these spawn points. And then I'm going to just be able to test this map out exactly as it is, which is super, super cool. Because, like I said, you can kind of play around with seeing how challenging the map is, see if you can accomplish it, see if you like it, and just kind of go from there. And bear with me just 1 second while this comes up. Okay, it's still loading the session. It's probably from where we made some subtle changes and everything. But while that's kind of going, so yeah, like whether it's a parkour map, which a lot of people do like the mini game style maps and everything. So if it's a parkour map that you're wanting to do, um, maybe you want to do like a zone war style map, which is super cool too. It kind of gives that effect of like battle royale. There's a lot of pre-made templates we kind of went over in the first session. Some tilted towers and everything like that was already pre-made. You can load up that map, kind of start to manipulate it, see if you want to make any changes, like, oh, okay, this is tilted towers, but with a twist. There's a lot of cool things that you can do with it to create the storms and everything like that, and to add props or take items away. Like if you want it to have some limited, or like if you want to make it to where you can only duel with shotguns or something along those lines, like you can totally do something along that piece. Um, but I am still waiting for this to load, which I will say this actually did launch before the session started, so I'm hoping it's not going to take too long. But in the event it does, we can always come back to the end and try to come back into it. But it actually sounds like it's going to load up now, and so I want to make sure. Robbie, you might have just let me know this is the Fortnite screen and not UEFN, correct? Okay, just wanted to make sure. But while this loads up, it's going to load in exactly like a regular map. Obviously, nobody else is going to have access to this map except for you. And this actually kind of goes into what's considered the Fortnite creator mode. There actually is a mode within Fortnite that you can kind of do the same thing to where you're able to edit within this map. So this is my preloaded parkour map that I've started to make so far. We have our spawn points here and everything. I'm gonna see if I can grab the item. It actually gave me, I thought it was the grapple gun. I actually put the kinetic blade in here. So if I go to fall off, I can use the try to use this kinetic blade to try to get back up on a platform. Kind of gives me a little bit more of a safety net. I did find out very quickly one time when I was testing this that I do need to have good sprint. So you want to make sure that you have your sprint all the way full. Otherwise, you will fall into the lava, which kind of gives that challenging element and everything. I don't have any materials to build, so I can't make it easier on myself, which is also a challenging component to it in and of itself. But we see I'm able to get up to this one, and then now trying to make sure I have not tested this. This is for the first time I'm trying this, so yeah, seems to be pretty easy. We may even could move some of these platforms like over another inch or two to try to get to where we want it to be a little bit more challenging. But overall, I would say that that's a pretty successful test. It gives me the feeling of a parkour overall. Um, and obviously, don't mind me jumping into the lava. That's just something by accident. But with that being said, we will get UEFN back up here and go ahead and exit that session. But it kind of gives you an idea of how to at least test your map, kind of get to where you want it to be, and kind of just keep going from there. With that being said, I think we're going to kind of move into some more prop style making. So I've been able to show you how to pull in different props and everything from the content browser. Obviously, for those of you who weren't here last week, up here under the which I done forgot which window it was. It's under window actually. Is the Fab tool that also gives you access to free as well as paid props. So if you're looking for something, I think last week we used the example as a wagon. If I wanted to add a wagon to be able to jump in on, there's plenty of free options in here. But let's say you've gone through all of this content browser, you've gone through Fab, and you can't quite find the prop that you want. There actually is a way to create your own props within UEFN. So I'm actually going to stop sharing while Robbie helps to pull a video up. But this video is actually going to go through. very quickly how to create a prop. And we'll kind of do like a little recap after the first one. And then the second one definitely goes into more details with how to manipulate the prop a little bit more by applying color, by applying texture, truly hitting some of those graphic design components of game design. Because obviously, these props, as fun as it is and as cool as it is for us to be able to have the easy access to the props that are already in Fortnite. Part of that game design piece is being able to create your own and tell your own story with everything that you're creating. So, with that being said, I'm gonna hush for a moment while this video is playing, and then we'll kind of recap it. It just apologies because it does move a little fast, but we'll make sure to kind of go back over everything afterwards.
Modeling in UEFN can be a powerful way to create custom objects in your project, and is one way you can add new experiences to your island. Let's create a basic barrel to look at the modeling tools available. Start by entering modeling mode by using the mode menu near the top of the editor, or by using the shortcut associated with it. Once in modeling mode, you'll see the different modeling tools available. Under the Create menu, you can create various objects like stairs or spheres. For your barrel, let's use a cylinder. After clicking on the cylinder option, the settings of the cylinder you are attempting to create will appear. You can adjust the height, radius, radial slices, and more. For this barrel, let's bump up the radial slices all the way up and set the height of 150. You can choose the material to give the cylinder, which for now will be blank, and where the asset should be saved. Click Accept and navigate to the barrel's location in the content browser. Rename it to SM_barrel, SM meaning static mesh. There are a few other tools that can help make this look more like a barrel. In the Model menu, select the Polygroup Edit tool and select the top of the cylinder. There are many things you can do with the selected part of the cylinder, like inset. This makes an outside part of the barrel and an inside. You can then select the inside part of the barrel and with the Extrude tool, bring it out more or push it in. Instead of using the viewport to do this, you can change the distance mode to fixed and set a number that way. A distance of -120 would mean the inside of the barrel would be raised 30 units total, since the height of the entire barrel was 150. If you click Accept, you'll now see you have a hollow barrel. With that, you've now modeled your first static mesh inside of the editor. The modeling tools can be incredibly powerful, so feel free to keep experimenting. You may have noticed that the barrel has a default checkered pattern on it. That's because you didn't select a material when creating it. So in the next lesson, you'll learn how to create a material to make the barrel look more barrel-like.
All right. So a lot of information in just those couple minutes. So we're just going to model that really quick. So I'm going to share my screen again, and I've got the project up that we actually started with you all last week. So the terrain and everything that we messed with was in here. The Kettle Team leader tree is also in here, along with our spawn points. And I've already kind of started uh, with the barrel piece, so that way we have like a general idea of kind of where to go from here. So as she mentioned, it's going to automatically default to that selection mode. Landscape mode is where we were messing with the terrain and everything. So if you go up here to select mode, you can go to the modeling. Modeling is going to bring up these screens. And basically what you're going to do is start out with a basic shape. So we're going to do the exact same thing that the video did, just for ease of access for everybody. But essentially you can turn these shapes and form them and mold them into anything that you want. So you could take a sphere and mold it into like a sculpture type thing with the right advanced maneuvering. But we're again going to keep it pretty simple for time. And there's a lot to UEFN. So just trying to keep everything as simple as possible. That barrel is going to be a cylinder. So I've already done this. So I'm going to pull this in myself because I've already got it saved. However, you would just click on cylinder. And then what you'll do is in your content browser down here, you're going to see the name of your project. So it's probably going to default to like project A or project B or whatever you started with initially. This one was just K-12 with some numbers in it. But if you do that, you're going to see a folder that says meshes. And meshes are essentially the starting points for your models and everything for any kind of props that you're making. A mesh is basically a blank canvas prop that you're going to be creating, just kind of for, easy terminology here. And so it's going to save under there. It's going to be some odd name. So all you're going to do is right click it, and then just hit rename, and you'll name it SM barrel like they did in the video, just so that way the static mesh is essentially what that's being called. Once you have your barrel saved, and I apologize for the speed. Let me see if I can get that adjusted real quick, potentially. That should help a little bit. Okay. So once you have your barrel, and I've already done this part of it as well. Actually, I may even let me just pull in another, so that way we could start from scratch here. So I have this cylinder. We're going to create and accept. I'm going to keep everything as simple as possible and just start out with that. What they basically did is they came over here to select, and then we're going to do what's called this poly group edit right here. And poly group edit, you're going to click the top of the barrel, and then you have a bunch of different item or options to be able to choose from. You can truly manipulate it however you're wanting. To get the barrel effect, though, you're going to click on the inset. And let's see if I can, again, it's a little fast, but that's okay. Now we need to determine that the inset's basically how much of this edging is going to show. So if you see on this barrel over here, I didn't really leave a whole lot of room. So maybe I want to make this a little bit better, leave a little bit more of a rim on the top. And then from there, it's going to let me manipulate it. So how we move props up and down is that green arrow. So I'm going to highlight it. Oh, I'm going to accept. That way it'll let me actually do it. And then I'm going to take that green and actually make it to where it's going down in there. And I apologize, my camera speed's still a little quick. But you get the idea. I'm able to give that a little bit more of an inset look. It's starting to look a little bit more like a funnel on the inside, like a barrel, like if you were looking down from one end to the other. And so let's just say, like, I want to be okay with that. That's a good start to the barrel. The next thing you'll want to do, again, that's basically the start of it, is you want to be able to apply some sort of material or some sort of texture to it to actually make it look like a barrel. And so with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing again. We're going to go to the next video. There's a lot of information in this next video, and it's about 6 minutes long. And what we'll do is I'll put the link in the chat for you, so that way afterwards, if you want to go back and watch it, you're more than welcome to try to complete some of that process. But I want to make sure that we just kind of focus on, okay, let's take it from where it looks like this pixelated kind of square model and stuff like that, and just be able to apply some color and some texture to it. So I'll hush for now. We'll watch the video and then we'll recap again afterwards.
The barrel you created in the last lesson would look a lot better with the material applied to it. Materials can be applied to meshes, like your barrel, to control how it looks. There are many materials that come with UEFN for you to use, but you can also create your own. Next to the barrel in the content browser, right-click and choose Material to create one. Call it mat_barrel, and double-click it to open the material editor. On the left, you'll find some of the basics of a material, and on the right is the output of the material. You can use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out of the material graph, and hold right-click on an empty part of the grid to drag it around. The default material graph node is the output of the material. Whatever is plugged into this node will determine what the material looks like. The easiest property of a material to understand is the base color. To create a color, right-click on the background and choose Constant, then Vector 3. This constant has 3 inputs: red, green, and blue. You can adjust these individually or double-click the color picker and adjust from there. Once you have a color selected, connect this color constant node to the base color input for the material by dragging from the white pin. After it's connected to the base color property, you should see the material output reflect the new color. There are a lot of other properties in a material, and you can mouse over each property to get an idea for what they do. Or check out the documentation online for a more in-depth explanation of material nodes and settings. Materials get even more interesting when used for textures, instead of just a normal color. Remove the nodes you've made so far, and then while holding down the T key, left-click to create a texture sample node. This is a shortcut to quickly create material nodes, another being holding 3 and left-clicking to make a vector 3 node. You can always right-click the background and search for a node to create if you don't know the shortcut. Drag the RGB output into the base color of the material output. You'll then get an error because the texture sample node doesn't have a texture yet. So in the Details panel of the node, click the Texture dropdown to find the default textures that come with the editor. For the barrel, let's search for a log texture. 3 textures will appear, one ending with a D, one ending with an N, and one with ORM. Select the texture ending with the D, which stands for diffuse, and is basically the look of the material, like a color. If you apply and save the changes, then close the material editor, you can now drag the material you created onto the barrel to see it has a log look to it. To assign the material to all barrels you create, open the barrel mesh and select the new material you created for it. The barrel looks pretty good, but you can use the other log textures that came up to make it look even better. Instead of making a new texture sample node, you can drag these textures into the material graph by opening the material editor and docking it into the editor. Then, because you're looking for textures, they have to be in the Epic folder, and here you can search log to find the textures you didn't use yet. Then select the textures ending in N and ORM and drag them into the material graph like so. This will automatically create a texture sample node for each texture. The log texture ending in N is the normal map, so you can plug the RGB output of the node into the normal property of the material output. The one ending in ORM is a combined texture, O for ambient occlusion, R for roughness, and M for metallic. These 3 different properties are combined into a single texture by existing on different parts, one in the red channel, one in green, and one in blue. They're placed in the order of the texture's name, so the ambient occlusion part of this texture is in the red channel, meaning you can drag the R output of the texture node into the ambient occlusion input node. Then, the G node, or the roughness, is in the roughness input, and the B node, or metallic, into the metallic input node. With these textures applied, the barrel should look much better, as it now represents how the textures were meant to be used all together. The barrel definitely looks great, but if you get real close to the top, you may notice some problems with how the texture wraps around the barrel. This is because the default settings for how the material is projected onto the mesh are a little off, but that's an easy fix. Open the modeling mode you learned about last lesson and select the UV menu. Click Project UVs and then change the projection type from a plane to a cylinder, since that's the shape used for our barrel. You should immediately see a difference in how the top of the barrel looks. Accept this change and you should be good to go. Modeling and creating materials like this is a great way to create unique assets, modify standard Fortnite assets, or change assets you've imported into UEFN. One great model and material, like this barrel, can go a long way in an island. For example, you could duplicate the mesh a few times, duplicate and edit the material a bit, and apply it to the new meshes, and you'd now have a few different looking barrels. However, there's a better way to reuse a material called material instancing. Open the barrel's material editor and make a new vector 3. Drag out the output node, but instead of connecting it to something, just let go, which will let you create a new node. Search for multiply and choose it to create a multiply node, connected to this new vector 3. Also, take the RGB from the diffuse texture plugged into the material output and bring it into the B channel of the multiply node. Then, plug that into the base color of the material output, replacing the diffuse texture. Effectively, this creates a system where the log texture is changed by this new vector 3, then given to the material output. If you look at the material now, you'll see that it's gone dark. That's because the vector 3 you're multiplying the log texture by is completely black. Make it white, and it should look familiar. Here's where things get really cool. Right-click the white color node you created and click Convert to Parameter. Name it Tint, since this is going to change the tint of the log. Save your changes. Then back in the content browser, right-click the material and hit Create New Material Instance. Change it so this material has the word blue at the end. Open this material instance, and instead of the material editor, the instance editor will appear. The parameter you created earlier, the tint, is now visible, and you can adjust this and make it blue. Then, if you drag the new material onto a barrel, you'll see it has the same log look, just tinted blue. Material instances are a great way to reuse materials with small changes to them, and they definitely helped our barrel look a lot better. In the next video, you'll learn how to add lighting and visual effects to bring this barrel to life, and how to package them together to create one barrel asset that's fully lit up.
Okay, so obviously, like I said, a little bit longer of a video, a lot of information in a very, very fast pace. I did put that link in the chat for after this webinar, so that way you can kind of go back through and be able to do that step by step. A little bit easier, probably a lot better explained than I could write off. But for the sake of time and ease of access, we are going to apply a color, not the textures or anything, but just to kind of get you in a simple direction of where you should go with the barrel and everything. So back in UEFN here on live, you'll have your content browser pulled up. Again, not sure where it's at, content drawer. And then I've already created one here, but all you'd have to do is hit left click just anywhere in the content browser. You go to material, and it's going to create that new material. And then you'll just say, I'm going to put matte barrel 2 since I've got another one already saved in here. And that's going to automatically create this. If I want to change the color, because right now it's just going to be black. So I'll even show you. So if I drag this over here, it's just going to change it to black. But if I want to make a colorful style barrel, double click on whatever material you just created. And this is that screen that pops up. Basically, the easiest way I could describe this is essentially like connecting the dots for the coding piece on like your textures and your colors and everything. That's essentially what it looks like. You want to left click within this and go to constants. And under constants, you want to go to constant vector 3. That's going to automatically pull up your color here. Nothing is currently connected. We're only going to focus, even though there's metallic and roughness and, every customization you could think of under the sun, we're only going to focus on this base color. So right now, because there's nothing else plugged in there, it's going to remain this black color. But if I want to be able to change the color, this black spot right here, which is the current color that it is, I'm going to double click it, gives you the color picker. So we can kind of go through, let's say I want to make it like a bluish, kind of purplish sort of tint or whatever. I want to make it a little bit darker. We can adjust it however we want to make it look really nice. And then I'm going to hit OK. Obviously, it still hasn't changed yet because we haven't connected it to the actual material itself yet. So we're going to I'm going to zoom in so that way you can see it as much as you can. This white dot right here for the node, that's what they're called. And we're essentially connecting this to communicate with this base color. And so now we see that this blue color, which actually I just now realized, Robbie, is kind of the same thing as your background almost. Very similar to that K12 Esports blue. So we're going to connect that. And then we're going to have that be set. So we're going to apply it. And then if I can actually just close out of this. We do want to save it. You notice because it was already connected, it changed it to blue. If I want to change it to the brown one that I've already made before, all I'd have to do is drag and drop it to this, and it would automatically change it. So that kind of gives you an idea of how to make or, go into that modeling section, grabbing a shape to be able to manipulate, to customize it as much as you can and everything. It gives you a starting point to where you can actually create your own prop and provide some color. Truly, in this kind of a platform, the sky's the limit. Actually, in one of these videos, she shows you a pirate ship that they created, and it's currently all black because the material isn't applied to it. But It just goes to show you like what all you can actually do within UEFN to be able to manipulate the props and really create what it is you're wanting to create, and be able to get into your Fortnite map and everything. And with that being said, I think that's primarily what we were going over today. Just to kind of recap, we kind of went through some theming and everything for our maps. Making some conscientious decisions on what kind of style map that you want it to be, whether it's just like a little miniature game that you want to be challenging and want to keep people coming back to play it, or even kind of going into that more in-depth feel with storytelling in the background, whatever that looks like to you, as well as kind of going into some of the prop modeling and manipulation and everything. Again, most of the props that you're probably going to add, you're going to be able to find in this content browser on Fab really, really easily. To get into that true game design element, these are the building blocks. These are the baby steps to be able to take to get into the actual game design of creating your own props, applying that material and that texture and everything. Next week, going to be kind of going into some of the light sourcing that she mentioned in that last part of the video, truly making this barrel. And we'll kind of get into the texture piece of it a little bit too. So that way we can kind of officially finish that out, and then kind of moving on from there. But again, UEFN has so many different elements. Definitely don't want you to feel like it's overwhelming. I know there's a lot within here. The good thing is that website that I sent, as well as multiple YouTube videos and everything like that too, have some really good resources if you really are looking for something specific to do within UEFN. Obviously, this is just the Fortnite edition. There is the Unreal Engine side. That's just the engine itself that's used to create multiple video games. I know Valorant and Marvel Rivals, which we offer in the K-12 Esports League, is used to offer that. For those of you who weren't here last week, I think I mentioned that as well. But truly, like it's a really, really cool platform to have for free, that you can be able to get in here. I noticed one question about asking if you could use your school laptop. It may not be compatible with that just because of the system requirements and everything that are with and the limitations that come with those school computers. But the cool thing is if you do have like an outside laptop or anything or a PC, definitely able to get this downloaded for free under the Epic Launcher, and really just kind of start to play around between these couple sessions. And then we'll try to do a little bit more deep dive going into next week. But with that, wanted to open the floor up to if there's any questions that we could try to help answer these last few minutes before we officially end out and wrap up for the day.
Uh, Dustin, I do have that seawall next week slide if we want to throw
Absolutely.
that up. Because I don't I we didn't have any very specific questions about Unreal Editor this time, which is awesome. Dustin does a great job of taking the complex and making it simple, right? Really walking y'all through what you're needing to do to again master what I continue to say is the basics. I know that second video that we showed, right? That was a lot of information, and she
That's a
does talk
lot.
really, really fast. But I think, I mean, obviously she's an expert at this, right? So she's done it so much. It's going to take you one or two tries to really figure all that out. As far as making your own material, but in my honest opinion, just as we are having an open conversation right now, I would just use the built-in materials in UEFN to start. And then if you really want to deep dive and get into like making your own, I would maybe try that after you've made your own first full map. Place the barrel down and then use a regular, maybe just color it, right? It doesn't have to be anything fancy for your first try. I think one thing that we mentioned last week that we definitely want to mention and make sure everyone is aware of again today is UEFN and Unreal Engine, they are used by absolute professionals in the industry. And so going in there and following that second video and making your own materials, those are things that professionals are doing. And you as beginners, Dustin and myself as beginners, we don't have to dive into that right now. We can learn other things and just get a map done first, and then maybe go back and make the material that we really envision being right there, right? But um, I do want to bring us all back to what we mentioned at the beginning of the session, which is theming of your map. That's where kind of creating the materials and having a what I will say color scheme set in place really helps, right? Because when you're playing a video game and it's a boring visual or the colors don't make sense, you may not want to continue playing that game. But if you're playing a game and the map is beautiful and it's got a really cool cherry blossom Japanese theme that you absolutely love, like you're gonna want to keep continuing to play that map, and things like that. So a theme is really important, but you don't have to stick to a specific theme as well, right? Like we mentioned earlier, an underwater theme or a desert theme. Dustin made the lava parkour map theme. If your theme for the map is to have it be chaotic and have what I would say, quote unquote, no theme, and you have some Halloween elements and lava, but also water and desert, you can totally do that as well. Like we're not saying you have to stick to just the desert, but what we want you to think about, especially with showing you how to put the colors on and create materials for props and items, is um, there should be thought behind it. And everything, even if it doesn't look like it makes sense, maybe to everyone, it should make sense to you at the end of the day. So theming is very, very, very important, especially if you want to think about potentially game design as a career or anything along those lines. When you get to the upper echelon of the gaming industry and actual companies that create games and things like that, there are people on the team where their whole job is to just work on the material. Someone else is placing everything down, and then that's that person's job. Put the props and the items in the correct places. Then the other person's job is to color it a specific way, create materials, make it all look wooden, like the example in the video. And so, you don't have to be a master of everything. At the end of the day, if this is something that you want to pursue as a career, um, there's a lot in the video game industry. I'm going to ramble here for just a little second. If you're super into music, but you also love video games, there's opportunity for sound engineering in the video game industry, right? So we're just scratching the surface of this all, and we're specifically diving into game design at this point. But with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I was gonna ask Dustin, he already put it in there. That YouTube channel link is the playlist that has last week's recording, where we literally went from the beginning to where we are now. And we'll have that second recording from today up there as soon as possible as well. So you can go back, watch week one if you did miss it. Again, welcome to those of you that were new this week. We appreciate y'all. And then if you want to rewatch anything from this week, please do so there as well. The first link that Dustin sent about 20 minutes ago, again, is that playlist that is where we're showing those videos from, specifically on the Unreal Engine Fortnite Edition website, which is super cool. Dustin mentioned it earlier. I want to re-mention it, but there are plenty of tutorials and things along those lines, resources that you can find and go through that really dive deep into things, right? Again, our goal here is to show you all what's possible in UEFN at the surface level. We're barely scratching the surface here, but we want to get you all comfortable with the platform, with making your first maps, so that you're at a point where you want to and are able to go ahead and go to some of those more complex tutorials. Um, I know that we are basically at time, and Dustin has been answering some of the questions in the chat. Dustin, was there anything that came up that you want to specifically touch on?
Sure. Yeah, there was just a couple questions, but nothing super crazy. Again, I know a lot of this is system heavy, especially given the fact that you're going to have Fortnite UEFN itself, and even UEFN is actually not as big as the standard Unreal Engine, but they definitely take a lot of depth. Like I've got a gaming PC and everything, so it's a little easier for me to be able to navigate some of that. I haven't personally tried it on a laptop, so that could be some of the reason why it's causing the problems is the some of those CPU requirements and everything. But there was an interesting question that I did try to get answered, but I do kind of want to just throw it out there. There was a question about XP. Because yeah, obviously content creators and those who are getting their maps and stuff like that published in Fortnite will oftentimes have XP maps and stuff like that in there. And so you'll probably notice if you've ever gone into some of those maps, uh, oftentimes you can get some good XP there for a little while. And then sometimes after so long, it kind of starts to trail off. Based off of what I found, there's not really like a confirmed limit as to how much XP you can add into a map for those who are in Fortnite Creative and have those capabilities to be able to publish. But from what little bit I saw, it's like there's a soft cap of 200,000, and then like after that, it starts to really slow down and trickle off. So it probably looks like you can gain like a lot of XP off of it for the first little bit, and then it really starts to try to trail off after that. I think Epic does a pretty good job overall. It kind of making sure that that doesn't happen too much because obviously yeah, XP farming is a thing. So they want to make sure that it's not not being abused. They definitely want to be able to give that opportunity. It's cool to be able to go into other people's maps and use that creative sense and everything. But yeah, I'm not sure if that was exactly why you were asking, but that's kind of what I assumed too. So yeah, there's not a clear cut answer from what I can see anyway, but I'm sure there's probably something on Epic's website that probably answers that a little bit better too.
Ember trying to farm XP, trying to beat that battle or complete that battle pass right away. Awesome. Well, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you again for being here. We have about 3 minutes left. Any more questions, please throw them into the chat here. Sky will answer that in just a second. Let me get through my little closing statements here. Again, 3 more minutes. Any questions, please let us know. We will answer them. Josh, and Josh is a learning coach, because I'm pretty sure you're there as well. I know you're having issues with Unreal Engine. Please send us a email to that email I gave you earlier, k12esports at k12.com. If you still don't have it open, either Dustin or myself will see that and we will work with you through email to try and get this all figured out prior to next week so that Josh can fully participate with us. With Unreal Engine, Dustin kind of just mentioned it, right? But it's a very powerful program. And so sometimes some PCs do have problems running it. I don't think that is the case for you, however, since you do play Fortnite. That should be basically about enough to at least run what we're doing here at that basic level. So if you still are not able to have it set, please, please, please send us an email and let us know what's going on, especially those error shots. Definitely get those over to me, and we'll work with you over the next couple days to make sure that we figure it out because there's a couple things that I definitely want us to try, but they're a little tricky to kind of go through on just like a little Q&A. If I can send some screenshots to you in an email and things like that, we should be able to hopefully get to a working spot for you all in a quicker manner for sure. Uh, New laptop. Okay. Very interesting. Yeah, please send me an email and I'm gonna put in a couple different things there and we'll get to the bottom of this. Again, if you do need that, it is k12esports at k12.com. And we'll work through it together. We'll work through it together. Now, Sky asks if we participate in this workshop, does it count as us being on the esports team? If not, when can we join? That is a great, also a little bit funny question. So this is a K-12 Esports League related event. I wouldn't necessarily say that you're a part of the team, but you're definitely a part of me and Dustin's team at the end of the day. Sky, what school do you go to, if you don't mind me asking? that is a big, big one because not every K-12 powered school does participate with us in the league. Um, a lot of them do, but not every single one of them. Kava, okay, great, Sky. Next question. How are you 13 or older? Because that is a big one to play with us. 17, awesome. Ooh, junior or senior? I'm assuming junior. Senior. Ah, I see, I see, I see. So Sky, we are actually finished with the competitive stuff for the K-12 Esports League for this year. Unfortunately, it is very bittersweet as we do have plenty of seniors playing with us, and we are sending them to their futures at this point now. They have completed their last match with us. So um, there's nothing gaming wise, unfortunately, that you can join for the esports team in like a season. We do have some cool things coming up as I pull up my calendar. Um, being we have a let's see here. We're gonna have some Fortnite days in May. And so Sky, if you're interested in those, let us know and we'll make sure you get the correct information so that you can participate. Yeah, get that resume updated, Hector. Okay, awesome. Sky, we have your email from the registration from this, so we'll make sure to send the stuff your way. We'll also hit up the coach over at Kava and let them know that we have someone that really wants to participate in Fortnite to end off the school year. So be on the lookout. Be on the lookout potentially for some communication from them. Sky, I'm assuming your full name, like first name, last name is Sky West. Yeah. Okay, cool. We'll uh we'll do what we can to make sure that you can get into these the couple of days that we have in May. We have one for sure, might potentially do a second one, but we'll help you out here. Um yeah, Hector, the main thing is when do you graduate? Oh, you can join those for sure. We have for sure Fortnite solos baked in. But with with how much everyone still wants to play Fortnite from the league, we may throw in an extra day, just to have some fun with everybody. I know, Hector, sad day, sad day, sad day. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are at 3 minutes overtime. So, Hector, we will see you next week. Josh, yeah, I do see that you're saying normal Unreal Engine opens normally. So that also helps us know that it's got to be something on the Fortnite edition side of things. Again, I'll be looking out for an email from you guys. To again K12 esports at k12.com. And then we'll uh we'll work on that with you there. Dustin, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say it's possible. So, in order to launch Unreal Engine Fortnite Edition, you do have to have like Fortnite and everything like that on the same system. That could be the rendering issues with that because what it's doing, as you noticed when I launched the session earlier for the parkour map, it automatically took me over into Fortnite. So it is a possibility. Yes, like you can run Unreal Engine with no issues, but the actual Fortnite edition, it has to have that connection for Fortnite. So it is possible. Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. I was gonna say that could be part of the issue, but
Um,
yeah, we could definitely take a look at it.
actually, Josh and Mom, hi Mom. Thank you for helping your student get through some of this troubleshooting. We'd love to see that. Um, Dustin, can you share your screen and
Mhm.
see if you can